main laws. That's down yonder.
Down yonder.
hmm
Okay, so
Define down yonder.
4:03. Are we
Yeah, it's going.
okay? Meeting's being live streamed.
Here we go. We are live stream, but you know what that means, Heather? I've got to change my backdrop here.
Oh,
So even though we are officially live right now, we need to get in character. Oh, there we go. now, now we can, now we can say that we are officially live. And so with that being said, welcome back to another episode of the Financial Happy Hour podcast. As always, I'm yours truly, your host, Rusty Westfall, and I'm grateful that you're here with me today. So, as we head into Thanksgiving, a time for reflection, a time for gratitude, and setting the stage for a strong finish to the year, today's topic, it couldn't be more timely. What we're doing is we're going to dive into foreclosures, and this is one of the most misunderstood, probably least discussed, but yet opportunity filled areas of real estate. So, whether you're a first time buyer searching for an affordable way into the market, or if you're an investor and you're looking for your next big play, or simply just somebody who wants to better understand what's really happening out there, foreclosures can offer tremendous value if you know what to look for. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to unpack how to find them, how to evaluate them, how to pay for them, the biggest red flags that you need to watch for, and so much more. As the holiday season begins, there's no better time to learn how to spot opportunities, avoid financial headaches, and position yourself for success heading into the new year. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and welcome to this special Thanksgiving edition of the Financial Happy Hour podcast. Welcome back, Miss Heather Vest.
thank you for having me, Rusty. So, I have with me what's called a dirty Diet Dr. Pepper.
Dirty
Exotic.
Diet Dr. Pepper. Sounds dirty.
It is. It's got Diet Dr. Pepper in it, coconut, cream, lime juice,
Nice.
and ice.
And you're never going to guess what's in here. Huh?
I said water.
It's got water and, and it has ice. I don't know what else there it is. But with that said, here's
That's
to
what I
another
said. You don't know
success.
what else. We could either say this is the teetotaler version of the happy hour, or we can say it's the mystery one. You don't know
That's
what
right.
else is
Today we're going to keep it a mystery. So here is to a successful podcast. May our viewers who are watching this live and on the replay get a ton of value from today's show. Cheers.
there. Okay. So one thing that I want to start with, and that you didn't mention earlier, is what happens when buyers are facing foreclosure. So I'm going to start with that, and then we're going to lead into investors, if you're okay with that.
I'm totally fine with it.
So one of the big things that I see happen a lot is that buyers get in buyers are often are in a position, I'm sorry, homeowners. Let me start over. Homeowners are sometimes in a position where they're facing foreclosure. And a lot of times people feel like they're backed against a wall and they have no options. They start getting multiple letters from not just the bank, but from you get all kinds. I've seen them where they're colorful in their bright colors, or they almost look like they're written in crayon, or they look like they're handwritten. I'm not joking. And I've even written some letters to them where they use the script, whatever. And I've actually paid somebody who I would have them write a note saying, hey, I have a cash buyer. Call me for this information. Now, I want you to keep this in mind if you're in this situation. You have options. In time, while it is not your friend, you're not up against a wall that you need to like evacuate your house and leave and move immediately. That is what most people think they have to do. They're in a fear mode. They think they have to just run away from the problem, put their head in the sand, and that's going to help solve the problem. Right now, I have 4 individual clients that have come to me within the last week that are facing foreclosure.
Wow.
Yeah. And well, I actually one of them I've actually been dealing with for over 2 years. He we've extended out his short sale for that long. He's been living 2 years rent free in his own house without having to pay anything. Now that is
How,
a
wait, how many years? How long?
2 years.
2 years rent
Mhm.
free? And he still hasn't been officially foreclosed on.
Nope.
Okay, well, I know you're going to get into this, but the obviously the $64,000 question is, How do you work that out?
Well, his situation is special. He's a veteran, and with veterans becomes a whole slew of other things. So what happened is that many years ago there was a veteran who was deployed, and he got I don't know his particular name. I know the gist of the story is that he got foreclosed on. And after that, the banks got sued big time. But the bank that foreclosed on him got sued big time. And so now they have a law on the book that if you're a veteran and that you're potentially, getting deployed or have been deployed, that they put a hiatus on the foreclosure process so that they don't do it. And banks won't even touch it in the situation. If they think it's any type of question that he may potentially be deployed or he is deployed, they will just wash their hands of it and then just wait. And
Wow.
right now, that person it's about to come forth, but there's other things with it. Now, with that being said, I just had somebody contact me yesterday, and he got served paperwork for closure in February. And right now, as of today, we're November. Today's the 21st.
Hmm.
And he now to get okay, so to back up the truck, to get served list pens, LISPENDES. I'm from pronouncing it wrong. Don't forgive my Latin. Didn't take Latin. You have to be 3 months past due on your mortgage payment. Now, to be past due on your mortgage payment, you have to usually it's always due on the first, where you're truly late is on the 15th. So working off of a calendar, we'll just say from the beginning, like if you were then late, January, February, March, then it would be after March 15th and 16th if you did not pay that third one. And then they then start the paperwork to do the file foreclosure saying, we're giving you notice. Now, they go to the courts and say, we're going to start the foreclosure process, and they will serve you saving, this paperwork. Now, each state is slightly different in how they handle it. So just keep this in mind. I'm in the state of Oklahoma, and this is how it's handled as a whole. Now, this individual who I was talking about who called me yesterday, he got served a paperwork that said basically you need to respond. And what we're doing in response to that is saying we're going to, list the house in the next 2 weeks. Now, he originally called me because he got a call. And this is where I want to give the word of warning to buyers. You're going to get lots of, I'm sorry, I keep saying buyers, I apologize, homeowners. Homeowners who are facing foreclosure, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to promise you the moon. They're going to say, oh, we'll come give you some money right now, but we'll buy this. Your house is in bad shape. Let me help you with that. And the truth is if you were going to a real estate agent, you would get more money for your house. And I know I'm saying that as a real estate agent, but I see a lot of people facing what's called equity theft. And in the state of New York, it is illegal. In Oklahoma, you have to be a real estate agent to wholesale. And I know I'm throwing a lot of terms out there to you, but essentially what happens is, I'm going to use an example. You have Bob who's facing foreclosure. Bob is back on his house payment. He hasn't made it, since the beginning of the year. And the bank has let him know that he's going to be facing foreclosure. Then you have Sneaky Sam who comes in and says, hey, Bob, I'll buy your house for cheap, but oh, you have lots of problems. I can only give you this and that, but I'll take this won't be a problem. The bank won't bother you. I'll help you with this. And they'll either try to offer to buy it to you for super cheap, or they do often what's called the terminology that is for it is when they I'm sorry, the word's escaping me. Uh they're wanting to take over the sale of your house. You keep the mortgage, and then they take it and they rent it out. And the idea of that is that you're left holding the sack if we're happening. So the individual I was talking about, he was given they gave him an option saying, hey, we'll give you $20,000 for what you have, and make sure that the bank doesn't bother you. You have to stay in your house for 3 more months. And I started to run the numbers for him. Do you want to know how much money that he would walk away with for?
So let me make sure I understand the root of the question here. So this gentleman, your client, is on the verge of being foreclosed on.
Yes.
He's being offered basically 20 grand to just be done with it. Get your
Right.
stuff out, get out of here. We'll take over from there. Thank you. And here, you can have $20,000 for one of the process because we know you need the money. And
Right.
to me, what you're explaining here is you're explaining situations where people are most vulnerable. And unless they are dealing with a real estate expert,
Right.
almost like a fiduciary real estate expert that's going to have the client's best interest at heart, most likely those are the type of people that are being taken advantage of on the daily.
Yes. This essentially, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what they're doing. What they're doing is they're finding somebody who's in a desperate situation and they're offering them kind of an exit plan that they're, oh, I'm going to take care of this problem for you. But the problem is that it's like the We Buy You Ugly Homes. I'm sorry, but essentially any other type of product that people will say, we'll buy it immediately, you don't have to do anything to it, what have you. Do you know I can do that? I can do that as a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only going to charge you a fraction of the price. This guy offered him $20,000. I ran the initial numbers, even low numbers, and he was going to walk away with $100,000. And it's not the first story that I've had that I can tell you. I can count story after story after story after story where clients are promised some little portion. And the problem is that people get in their mind regarding like HGTV. They're like, oh, my house isn't glamorous and it's not, it's not pretty and someone can't buy it just as is. You're looking at it in the wrong way.
So you're telling me that this gentleman had over $100,000 in equity in this home?
Hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And he was willing to give it up because the guy was like, because this is what they come in. The story goes like this. This individual feels shame, panic. He feels trapped in his situation. He feels that the projects are overwhelming. He looks at, the fence that's not painted, the siding that's not undone, the roof that needs to be replaced. He looks at all these things and he thinks nobody wants to buy this house because when I bought it, it was turnkey. It was beautiful. And over time, due to circumstance, things just got in bad shape. And I can't sell my house because it's not like it was, and it's not an HGTV house, and it's not like the houses I see on Zillow. And the truth is that your house doesn't have to be that. It doesn't. I had a client who came to me, and she was going through a divorce, and um, the floors were horrible, and I mean like funhouse floors. Like it was like cracked. You could see, like you in the pictures, you could see how bad it was. They were just like if you were platonic tape, what is it, tectonic plates where they're like you could see how bad the cracks were. And we listed it low to get immediately offers off of it. And she ended up netting over $75,000 more than we anticipated originally because using a real estate agent, I am making other people compete. I'm making
Right.
all the investors compete because you think about it is you think about a market. If you only have one person who's going to buy whatever you have, you're only negotiating with that one person. But if you then put it on the market for dozens of investors, they're competing against each other. So, to get on to this, so the real options for homeowners are this: list your home, even in poor condition. The second would be to do a short sale. Let's say that you bought the house last year and you're like, I have no equity in Heather. There's just absolutely no way I can do it. Short sale stands for the term short has to do with you shorting the bank. So if you bought the house for $300,000 and you barely touched the equity in that house, right? And you still owe a ton of money to the bank, you end up selling the house for less than what it's truly worth. And that is one opportunity that investors have. Okay. So that is an option that the sellers have, the homeowners have, and that is an opportunity for the investors. And we'll get into that. Other options are loan modification, forbearance, and a lot of times they will give you a forbearance, especially while you're listing your home. The other options are would you maybe a repayment plan? Sometimes refinance if for some reason interest rates have changed or that you are some kind of balloon payment. That is an option also. Another would be a deed in lieu of foreclosure. That one is where you just hand over the deed to them as a whole. Now, I would recommend the short sale before that.
Right.
And then bankruptcy is a temporary forego if you happen to be, where you're being crushed by a lot of debt, but that's where you need to have your homestead exemption. We talked about in the past. You need to file your homestead exemption so that you can keep your house separate if you're filing in a bankruptcy situation. You need to always, whether or not you're in bankruptcy or not right now, make sure you're always. I just met somebody yesterday and I was like, "Do you have homestead exemption?" He's like, "I have no idea what that is." And I pulled up his tax records and I said, "You've been charged 11% every single year for the last 3 years that you've owned this house." I was like, in Oklahoma, you can get $1,000 off the assessed value, and it also caps at the maximum that you can be charged for your taxing, so that you're not. Well, it won't stop the taxing; it slows down. Does that
Right.
make sense? So,
Hmm.
um, now what I was back to what I was saying is about my the warning about predatory buyers, having it listed with a real estate agent, you're going to be have someone who, like you said, has a fiduciary duty to help you and through the process. And I can also help you navigate these shark-filled waters, because when he called me and he told me what he said, I said, I know exactly what he's trying to do. And I explained, I spelled it out exactly. I said, he did this, this, and this. And he's like, yeah, you did exactly. And I explained how they come in, they make an initial offer, and then they come look at the house, and they're like, oh, but this is wrong, and that's wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And it's like, and then they kind of basically kind of like negotiate you down on the price. Uh, it's usually an extreme undervaluation of what your property is truly worth. And they also sometimes aren't always flippers. So a flipper is somebody who takes your house and then they do repairs on it, okay? They say you need a new roof, you need new siding, you need flooring. They would come in, they would do things to pretty it up, and then they turn on and sell it. A wholesaler is somebody who comes in and buys your house, right? And they say it's in poor condition, has all these things. They do
Right.
nothing to your house. And
Yep.
then they turn around and they find a person who's going to flip it and they say, hey, Fred the flipper, I'm going to sell you this house and you're going to pay me $10,000 more than what it is. That's where the equity theft is. That person has essentially taken the $10,000 that you, the homeowner, could have potentially had, and they pocketed it.
Right.
And that, so in Oklahoma, the way they've gone about to try to mitigate that is that you have to be a licensed real estate agent to be able to do wholesale. Now, do I think that that has stopped anything? No,
No.
no. I
Mm-mm.
think all it did is
It
it
just
got rid
means
of,
the state of Oklahoma is selling more real estate licenses, more
exactly,
revenue for them.
exactly.
Hmm.
And even then, I had a client who had purchased a house and he bought it like at 93 and had renters in it and it was in bad condition. And he knew that, working with a real estate agent was going to be helping. So he contacted me. I helped them list the property. But one of the first things I did is that there are a lot of real estate agents who work for certain brokerages that do wholesaling alone. And I said to them, I was like, has this person even seen the house? Have they even walked in it? And they're like, no. And I was like, so you're making an offer basically sight unseen just because you think the numbers work. I was like, they need to see the property in person to make an offer. Because I had several times in that situation where the people had not even walked in it, made an offer, and then they were basically hoping to do essentially what those wholesalers do, which is come back and try to renegotiate the contract over and over again to get a lower price. Well, we said we'd buy it for 115 and we found out that, this is damaged and that's damaged, so we can only offer you, $90,000. Now it's only 75. Now it's only, every single time. And as a real estate agent, I could come in and I said, no, this is, you need to do X, Y, and Z, these things first to be able to help and so my seller was able to not have to have that stress of me, every single time having people kind of trying to negotiate him down. Um, So we talked about equity theft and we talked about wholesaling. Wholesalers, and so the other thing is that the way that real estate agents can benefit sellers is going to be exposure to market competition, like I mentioned. Where we're able to, bring multiple people to the table when they're all competing. You've seen auctions, how they work. People are like, hey, I want this, I want it, and they essentially bring up and they bring you more money. And multiple offers, transparency through the whole entire thing, because that's probably one of the things I see the most is that people bring these really shady contracts in and they often are like, it gives them, it's always written one-sided.
Hmm.
The contracts that I would be using are all vetted through the state, the OREC, and whatever state that your real estate agent is going to be vetted through them. It's written so it's going to be fair on both sides, and that it's written so that it protects you as the homeowner. Um, it also provides you, representation and protection, and then you just higher net proceeds, because you have to realize is that unlike a wholesaler who's looking to get 10, 20, $30,000 off of doing nothing, I'm going to be helping you through the entire process. And the process that what I'm going to be asking is usually going to be 3% representing the seller. If I happen to represent the buyer and the seller, it may be in Oklahoma, we can do dual agency. Not every state can do that. But we're just going to say for 3%. And is usually it's a fraction of a price of what these wholesalers often are walking away with. Now regarding the foreclosure process, I kind of stopped on this, right? You have the missed payments you would have, then you would get the notice to default. You know, your bank's going to notice like, hey, you haven't paid, you know, the mortgage payment. Then they're going to do the lease pens. That's the legal notice that the foreclosure has been filed. That's when you're going to be inundated by wholesalers and other people coming at you saying, hey, you know, let me help you through this process. If you ignore all of those things, then that's when the sheriff sale is. That between when you get the list pens and when the sheriff sells is where you want a real estate agent, because they can help you with either the equity selling, getting whatever equity, or during a short sale. Now, not many agents are. I would say as a whole, agents aren't versed on short sales. We were never taught them. I learned them because I worked for a amazing real estate agent in Oklahoma. Her
Yeah,
name was
stop you
Lori
real quick.
Black.
So you said a short sales where you're basically shorting the bank. Can you,
Yes,
for at least for me,
right.
explain what does that really mean? You're shorting the bank, hence short sell.
Right. So what is going to happen is that the bank often, if you ask them, and sometimes they'll send you the paperwork for this. So this is like this document saying, I can't afford this house. Something's happened. I've either, you know, divorce, death, you loss of job, whatever it is. I've lost the opportunity and income that I had to pay for this house. And they're going to ask you for a copy of your budget. They're going to ask you for a copy of bank statements. They're going to ask you a copy of, you know, paychecks or pay stubs or lack of pay stubs.
It's almost like all the documentation for the loan, but it's the reversal
Yes,
of it.
exactly. You're bingo right there. You're kind of doing it in reverse, and you're saying,
Mhm.
"Look, I could afford this before, and I can't now. You know, I've gone through a divorce, and now I'm having to pay child support, or something else has happened. You know, my job is, you know, they cut my wages, or now I have a job that's less wages, and I can't afford to pay for this house." What they do is they say, "Okay," and they will approve you. Now, what you don't want to do is one, you don't want to move out of the house. Okay. I mean, if your house is livable, don't move out of the house. You obviously have to pay for your, you know, your utility bills, but you can't don't move out of the house. The bank will not accept partial payments. You know, if you're like, I only have half the payment, they're not going to accept it unless it's the whole payment. Okay. So use that money towards utilities. You want to do what you want to do is you want to provide them the documentation. You want to stay in the house, keep it in good shape, you know, like you normally would. I'm not
Why
saying
wouldn't
that you're
you?
going to be, yeah. There's some people who get into this mindset that they're just going to trash the house.
Oh
Trust me.
yeah, yeah,
They're
I
like, I'm
understand.
mad at the bank and I'm just gonna punch a hole in the wall,
Yeah, they're mad
whatever.
at the world instead of themselves. But
Right.
anyway,
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna keep the house in good shape. You're gonna, lack of a better word, act normal, and you're gonna file the paperwork. Now, an agent can help you through this process. What's gonna happen next is that they're gonna have an investor who makes an offer on it. Now, the investor that offer may be low, and it probably will be. It could be lower than if you're in a short sale process, you kind of don't care. I mean, because you're not paying for it. Essentially, the bank and that investor will negotiate and they will come to terms. And when they come to terms for that, meaning that, let's say, your house was $300,000 when you bought it, and because of, you know, it needs a new roof or siding is damaged, it's, you know, it's now worth 275. And the investor is going to be like, look, it not only needs that, but it needs, you know, paint and flooring, what have you, and I'm going to offer 250. I'm sorry, I'm using big broad strokes right here, but you know, or less than that. The bank's going to come back and say, no, actually, you know what? We looked at it and it's worth closer to 275. They're going to come to negotiation terms and they're going to agree on whatever that is. And then they'll be able to purchase it there on out. Now, you're like, I can't pay a real estate agent. Well, you, as the homeowner who's going through the short sale, does not pay the real estate agent. The bank does. They're going to pay the the bank is going to pay the real estate agent to handle the process. And if you stay in that house and you keep it in good shape, a lot of times banks have processes. And now I tell everybody I can't promise this, but I've seen it happen multiple times before. The bank will, through the end of the process, will say, okay, we see that you kept the house in good shape. You've gone through the process. We're going to give you $3,000 that you can move out. Long as you pick up the place, you know, move your stuff out and, you know, move on, you give us the keys and your merry little
so
way.
not only are you saving, or you're earning money by not paying the mortgage, and so
Right.
that's basically free money within itself, even though you're planning on parting ways with your property, if
Right.
you're there for 6 months and your mortgage payment's $2,000, I mean, it's 24 grand right there you pocketed. Then the second part that you're explaining is sometimes, not that you're making promises or guarantees, but in a
Mhm.
lot of cases, the bank will make an arrangement with the property owner that if they take care of the property and basically um, be a good
Stewart.
client,
Yeah.
steward, that they will receive compensation to help them move out of their home.
Yes, I had one client who that she was in tears because their house was in such dilapidated shape, and we went through the entire process, and she was able to then immediately get into a rental, and she didn't have a foreclosure on her, her credit history. She was able to take the money and put a deposit down and immediately go rent something. I had another client who was facing the foreclosure process, and I said, "Do not move out of your home." I was like, "I know your parents live nearby, and whatever," and she didn't want to listen to why she left some of her stuff there. And then when it came to the end, she's like, okay, she asked the bank, like, hey, can I have the money to move out? And they're like, you're not living there. And I told her, I said, this is what I told you. I was like, don't move out. And
Right.
when because she'd moved essentially most of her stuff out and she turned off the utilities, and she's like, even though she had a few pieces of furniture there, and she was like, well, yeah, technically, I mean, I'm like, no, you're not. And they saw that she wasn't living there, and they weren't going to give her any cash for it to move, because in their eyes she'd already moved. She just abandoned the rest of her property is what happened.
So
And
I
so
know the answer to this, but how many years you've been in the real estate market?
12.
Okay, in
So
those 12 years, how many times have you been through this foreclosure process with your clients? If you can even add that up, probably a lot, more than
gosh,
you can count.
I'm handling, right now, like this
Four,
month,
right?
I'm handling I'm handling 5 right now.
So
And
here's the bottom line. 12 years, you've handled multitudes of these type of cases.
yeah.
What would you say the percentage is? What percent of the time are these banks willing and do they follow through with helping people move and providing some sort of financial stipend?
I would say 75% of the time, whenever it
Wow.
goes through, whenever the people do what they need to do.
Sure.
Now, that's the big caveat, okay?
Right.
Because um short sale paperwork is not fun for anybody. It's not fun for the real estate agent. It's not fun for the homeowner. The buyer of the property and investor it's not that difficult for them. I have somebody waving to me right now. I'm waving to them. So is it's not that difficult for them. The problem is that it is a lot of difficulty regarding the bank. The bank sometimes it depends on the bank. Some banks make it easier, some banks make it harder to essentially um, circumvent the process. And part of it is because they need to do the proper paperwork to make sure that I'm not someone shyster who's trying to come in and be like, oh, yeah, they're trying to sell their house, trying to pretend like I'm working with them. The other part is I think that they're losing money, and they're not happy about doing it. They make it difficult and almost intentionally. Now, with that being said, a short sale is a real good opportunity for an investor who has patience. Now, we'll I'm gonna pause the homeowner for a second. The reason the process can take months. I told you I had somebody for 2 years. Most of the processes are time like 6 to 9 months, and most people who are looking for investors are looking for something now. I want to buy this now. Now, if you have the capability to have the money set aside, however it may be a line of credit, a HELOC, hard money lender, however that may be, that's fine. Those are ways you can have money set aside for as an investor. But if you have the patience to buy something, as long as it's a good deal, then short sales are a real opportunity, because most people, meaning perfect people who are wanting to move into a house, do not have the patience or inclination to wait on a short sale. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is
Mm-hmm.
that someone who's looking to buy, because like a lot of times when I was looking to buy my first home, I wasn't a real estate agent. I was like, I'm going to buy a short sale. I'm going to buy or a foreclosure. And I didn't understand the process at that point in time. I had people who were like, don't do that. And I see now why they were saying it, because the process is a lot more complicated and it takes a lot longer than if you're buying a house. So, if you don't do a short sale, if you do not sell your house with a real estate agent, what happens is that your house then gets scheduled for a sheriff's sale. And a sheriff's sale is essentially that when they say that they auction off on the courthouse steps, it is auctioned off at the courthouse. It's not necessarily on the steps, but you're going to be scheduled out a date, and it's going to have when it's supposed to be on there and what they assess the property value at. In the state of Oklahoma, they start at 2/3 the value of what they think it is. They start auctioning at that point in time. You have you can then bid on it, or people will bid on the property. After it's been bid on, and so you as an investor can bid on it, and the bank will bid on their own foreclosure. If they feel like they're going to lose enough money, they're going to bid on their own thing, their own process, their own asset. Now, they get insurance money and then they can resell it and what have you. So, once it's sold, they sold, and we'll go back to this regarding investors and how the investors can make their money off of it here in a minute. It is then their confirmation. They have to go through the title process and they have to make sure there's no outstanding liens on it. And once it's done, that is done, then that person has somewhere between 30 and 90 days to evacuate the property. Now, I really highly recommend if you're a homeowner facing foreclosure, you try to do the short sale or the sale beforehand, because after the fact, after it's hit the sheriff's sale, really puts you behind the 8 ball. And that you trying to handle anything at that point in time is just more essentially you're going to be finding yourself another place to live. You want to start lining that immediately, because you don't want the sheriff because they're going to be then filing the essentially evacuation process. Sorry, I say evacuation. That's not the word I want to use. Eviction process to get you out. And they give you very short notice on how to do that. And that is not a fun process for anybody.
Right.
Like I was saying, important things to provide for the moves for sellers, for you're looking to sell, listing the property before the sheriff's sale, providing proof of the listing, having the listing paperwork and showing it to the courthouse and that can pause the proceedings. Communication, just don't put your head in the sand. Don't. I know things are rough, but addressing it, at least acknowledging the problem and talking to people about it is going to put you in a much better position. It's not, I said, so the last things I want to start with the homeowners is that you're not powerless. You have time and options. Freezing can, helps freezing up and not, just kind of giving in helps the scammers to win. And professional guidance like a real estate agent will help you. All right. Let's get on to the fun part, or like a better, how as an investor you can buy a foreclosure. Now,
so before you get into that, my biggest takeaway of all of that information that you just shared is, ladies and gentlemen, do not DIY. Don't. Quit trying to do it yourself. And I understand. I think I can understand. I think common sense and logic can understand that if a person, or if you ever get to a point where your whole situation changes and you're finding it impossible to be able to make your mortgage payments and the writing is starting to come on the wall, to just bite the bullet and talk to a professional. Same thing in my world, in the financial and the retirement and the investment world. People try to DIY their finances. They try to figure it out instead of talking to a guy like me for whatever reasons, I don't know. And it's costing them so much more money in the long run, as opposed to generating more income. It's the same thing in the real estate market. Right. Talk to a professional. The person who sold you the home, if you felt that they did a really good job and have your best interests at heart and were always there every step of the way, reach back out to that person and have them to help you through this other time. It might be embarrassing. It might not be your most proudest moment, but at the same time, there's no sense throwing thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars out the door and trying to take this low-hanging fruit. The next person that waves a couple of dollars in front of you, it's not worth it. There's a reason that these people are doing these things, is because they're going to come out way more ahead sucking you dry. And so talk to your professional, let them come in, let them do an assessment, review your options, and then from there, find out what is going to be the best course of action to transition from that home, recoup as much as your losses that you possibly can, and try to still come out on top and put yourself in a much better position financially to set you up for success down the road.
That's exactly. That was what happened with the individual who called me yesterday. He's like, I've known you for a long time. I know you know this stuff. And as soon as he started talking to me about it, I started to talk to him about, what his options are. He was like, yeah, this is actually much better because he's going to be walking away with equity. This is the great thing about what's going on. If he had taken that option for the other one, he would have a small amount of cash and be able to get a rental, and for a short period of time have some money. And with what we're looking at is that he's looking at the potential of buying a whole nother property cash that he
Right.
could own outright.
Yep.
Like he doesn't have to, I mean, I'm not saying you have to pay property tax, you have to, I mean, but he's going to own that outright and he's not going to be dealing with this cloud over his head, which is an amazing different situation versus having to constantly be like, okay, hey, my rent's gone up. What do I do now? Or my landlord's selling the property, what have you, or something's changed in that situation. Now, for investors looking for distressed properties, there
There
are
we go. Yeah, let's talk
now
about it.
now we're going to now I'd say I shared my investor cheat sheet before, and we can totally do that if you want to see it again.
Let's well, this is a whole different episode.
Well, I
So
was gonna
yeah,
say
let's
okay, we can totally look at what that is. So where we can look at is a type of distressed properties. You've got your pre-foreclosures, which are people who are not completely the bank hasn't filed the lease pins where
I don't see a
they're
cheat sheet here, Heather. Where's your
oh
cheat
okay, well,
sheet?
all right, let
I
me.
want to see it.
You want to, okay, the cheat sheet goes into where you find them. All right. So let me get
Okay.
my past my first step one is that, pre-foreclosures, share of sales, auctions, REOs, it's the bank-owned properties, and then tax liens. Okay. I'm not going into tax liens today because tax properties are a whole nother animal into themselves and how they're handled. It is real estate agents mostly don't know about them because they don't make a profit off of them any sort of way. And I am so much of a nerd about all of this stuff. That's why I know so much about it. And so and he's like, I would not expect anything else, Heather. All right,
Nope.
let me pull up my cheat sheet. So where I how I started with this is I had clients asking me, I had one asking me all the time, what about this? How about that? And I was like, he kept asking me all the time, and I was like, okay, you know what? This is really annoying me. I like you a lot, but I really am annoyed that you're asking me these questions all the time. And so let me share the screen with you. Now I can obviously share this as a PDF or whatever. And this is focused mainly on Oklahoma. Each one is going to be different. Let me see if I can get here. See, where do I do my share? Sorry. More. Am I gonna do you have to
While
give
you're
me a
pulling that
direction.
up, Heather, how would I be able to get in touch with you?
You can call me at 918-637-9708, or you can email me at Heather at Tulsa VIP Heather at Tulsa VIP homes.com.
There we
And
go.
so let's do here. I want to. I'm not seeing the right one. You have to give me a little instruction. More. Is that what I wanted to be under more? Oh, share. Hello.
Yeah, share.
Well, I had the minimized screen. I apologize. So,
Mhm.
I'm not on my dual monitor setup. We have like a
You're
usually have a
working
better
remotely
setup in my
today. Yeah.
fancy office. So
It
I'm
looks
in
like you're in the barn.
I am in the barn. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at is, as you can see, it says investor cheat sheet, Tulsa metro area. What um where we're looking at is like so the TulsaRealtor.com, that is my local MLS. All right. Now I'm going to go over what each one of these little, the yellow parts mean. So where the website is, that's the source of where you're going to find it. Who's the entity selling the property? Some of them like Hubzu or Chubb's Auctions or auction.com. HUD is, the our government entity,
Mhm.
Department of
Yep.
Veterans Affairs. Now those will be more nationwide. You're going to find different things. Now, when it says preview inside, that means can I walk inside the property? Do I get to look inside of it? Can I go into the property? Sheriff sale is a no.
So you mean there's that many foreclosed opportunities where you can take a look at the house before you
Yeah,
make an offer?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
This is just a small smattering. This is just, but yes, there are a lot of them. So if you were to go anything that's listed on the MLS, the Hubzu, the different ones, a lot of these are going to be and some of these are going to be already listed on the MLS. So, but each MLS has a section that says it's a foreclosure or a short sale because those are two different entities. Okay. And short sale is the one that takes really long. And the foreclosure one is going to be more of a normal process. Like the client who I'm going to be selling, he's facing foreclosure right now and his house is not in the best condition, but people can come and look at it and do a normal inspection. Okay.
Wow.
So, like I said, you get to preview means you get to walk through it with an agent and look through it. Inspection contingency is meaning that do I get to have a do I have to have something on the contract saying, okay, I'm looking at the house, we've done inspection, and oh my gosh, I found out there's black mold in the basement because I've seen that before. And can I back out? Because I am not going to touch that for anything. That's not at this price, at any price. Some people don't want to deal with certain things, okay? And some people don't like structural, what have you. The inspection can say, yes, you can back out of that property saying this is not what I want. Now, some of them are like, it's basically like an auction. Like you get the whole enchilada, you bid on it, you won it, you get to keep it. You've already had it. HUD, for example, that's a lot of people make HUD, will make HUD offers. Those are government foreclosures along with the VA. You can back out, but the HUD will claim your earnest money. So if you put down $1,000 earnest money, they're like, thank you very much. You cannot have that back. Now, if you're buying a HUD home as a homeowner, you can totally get your money back if you found out
Sure.
something. That's a different process. We'll talk about HUD homes another day. But it is essentially you can get your money, but they will take your money and be like, thank you, goodbye. But sometimes it's worth the loss, depending on if a situation you're just like, I'm in over my head, and HUD does not negotiate regarding. So some of these ones that say the no, you've made your bid, and once you've auctioned on it, then that's it. There's no like negotiating back and forth.
Now
Uh,
on these opportunities where you have the ability to take a look at the home and so forth versus the auction, can you finance that, uh, or is it a cash deal?
um,
Whereas I would think an auction deal, you've got to have, if it's a $200,000 property and that's what you bought it for, then you better have 200 grand.
right. There are sometimes HomePath I know has some opportunities for doing that. But you're gonna be most likely doing creative financing, not through your normal lender. You're not gonna be going to your normal broker, mortgage broker that you bought your house through. And
Mm-hmm.
so unless they deal with special products, they're not going to be giving you like, oh, you're gonna be most people I've seen go through do a hard money lender. And a hard money lender is an individual or a company, small company that says, yes, we will lend you this money and then we're going to charge you a higher interest rate. But most of the people who do that, they're looking for a short turnaround. They're looking to either flip it or they're looking to do something. Some people who are doing flippings actually will have or even short sale will have a longer period of time so they can get their ducks in a row regarding all the things that they need to do. So when they need the money, the turnaround is super fast that they can, that they're not paying a long interest, a lot of interest rate either for the hard money lender or the line of credit they're using or the HELOC loan that they're using. So I'm not a finance person. I know a finance who don't quote me on everything regarding how the best way to handle it. It depends on what your goal is. That's the people I ask people, what is your goal?
Right.
Because some people like the BRRRR method, and that is where buy, renovate, refinance, and then rent out. Um, but you see here, what can I finance the purchase? And that's where I said it's property specific. And so, um, there are certain situations where you can handle each one, and you have to look at who's the source, what the property is, and then because that's one of the things I tell about people who are looking to buy houses is it's not just you who's qualifying, it's the house that's qualifying. The house has to qualify for the loan that you're looking to do, and you have to qualify for that loan.
I gotcha.
It's twofold in that sense because you could be, qualified for a USDA loan or a VA loan or a FHA loan. These are all government-backed loans. You could qualify for all of those or any one of those, and that property you're looking at could not qualify. It's possible it could not qualify for it. That either needs too much work, it's too much repair, or it does not fit within situation. Now, um, looking down here at the bottom, so as you can see, I've got special notes about what it means. The the first one is the top is it's where you're dealing with the MLS, which you're seeing, individuals looking to sell or foreclosure situations. It's the greatest flexibility in negotiations with an individual because most of the government entities is just a number only situation. It is who is netting the most for the government and for the Home Path or the HUD Homes or the Veterans Affairs or such. Um, some of these others that are basically once you buy it, it's all yours. Those are tougher in the sense you really need to be know what you're looking at. You know, you need to have been experienced in the sense of um be able to walk through, and understand what potential you're looking at. I mean, because some people look at stuff and don't realize that, you know, this situation may mean that I have termites or I might have structural issues or there's black mold. I had a client who was asking me to, like, I think I mentioned, was I said, they're like, how much is the list my house? And I said, I sent them pictures and I said, um, I'm not gonna list this house until you address the black mold in the basement. And they're like, what?
No,
You
no.
had it as an Airbnb, and I was like, you didn't know that you have black mold in your basement. Now, whether it's mold or mildew or whatever, but it was clearly something, it was an issue, and
Yeah,
they could smell it.
it ain't gonna work in your favor.
No, yeah, I was like, I'm not handling this as an agent. I do not want that liability on my hands. Um, other opportunities are sheriff sales. Now, sheriff sales that you can see right here, that's where the individuals, that's where it's gone to foreclosure, and you can buy it in there. That person has defaulted on their loan, the bank has put it forth, but you don't get to see what's inside. So you're doing cash or some cash-like product, and then you're then bidding on it. You need to know having the best idea what the property looks like or what it potentially could be is, and sometimes people will let you into their homes. You're like, hey, I think I'm going to bid on this. And I don't know that's always the best opportunity. I don't recommend it, but I'm not saying that people wouldn't potentially there. And sometimes you'll see photos online. Sometimes you'll have photos that it didn't the foreclosure or the short sale didn't go through and there are photos online. And I've had that before where at a bank kind of stonewall a client and I had plenty of photos online and people went to the sheriff's sale and they were able to bid on it knowing what they could see. And I disclosed all the information that I can. But I'm also an agent who also puts 1,000 photos online if the houses that are even bad condition.
Right.
I don't do one photo of the front, which is drives me
Right.
nuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, now, tax auctions at the very bottom is where you see the June tax auction. That's when we have tax auctions in Oklahoma. And that's for when people have not paid 3 years of their taxes on their property, then the property will go up for auction.
Oh Lord.
Now, so, I think I talk about where you can find them. MLS with the real estate agent, the county sheriff sales, yes. So each one here you see is I have a link on those that they show, but your sheriff sale will be your county will have it listed.
I got a question
Um,
real quick.
absolutely.
What out of those, I'm gonna call them strategies. Out of these different strategies, whether it be the sheriff sale or the HUD or HUSBA or whatever, which of those strategies is going to allow you to purchase a property at the most discounted rate?
It's going to be tell me which is the best car to drive.
The one that moves forward, the one
And
that starts up.
I mean, because here's the deal. I mean, the truth is that that's why I ask people, what's your goal? And it's not, and people are gonna be like, oh, to make money. Well, okay, are you looking to flip it? Are you looking to rent it? Are you looking to live in it? Are you looking to, what is your goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's just say that my goal for right now is I'm looking for a primary residence. So let's do it twofold. Primary residence on one example, and a
Okay.
house that I can turn around and sublease in another example. So it can be a rental property for me.
So for a primary residence, your best bet are going to be either through your MLS or through HUD. Now HUD is going to be listed on the MLS, okay? But they're going to have more details on the HUD home store, and in uh they're not plentiful, okay? But you just have to keep looking. And but
But you
so
did say you better be patient.
well, I
Better be
did
patient with
regarding a
this.
short sale. The HUD homes let's look. I'm going to click on this right here. Let's look on. And where do you want to look? What state?
It's just sticking to Oklahoma.
Okay. Oklahoma may not have a lot right now because I mean, so let's see. Let's just see Oklahoma as a whole. Let's see if it'll let me look just without. Um, okay. All right. So 31 properties statewide. Okay. Here's one right here. Let's see. This is in Broken Arrow. New listing. All right, this is a great one. Oh, this is an amazing one. This is a good one right here.
Nice.
Okay. So here's what I'm trying to get at. All right. So what we're going to look at is that this is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 265 seems like a good price. And let's look at the photos of it, see what it looks like inside. Um,
Ooh, that wasn't
yeah.
bad. Ah,
Okay. So for a homeowner, this is what we're talking about. There's probably very little to be done on this house, if
yeah, it
anything.
looks turnkey.
Right. What you're going to do is you're going to talk to your real estate agent. You're going to call me and see. You see here where it mentions the time, 3 days, 7 hours, 7 minutes remaining to bid. That's where you contact a real
Oh
estate
yes,
agent.
yes. Mhm.
Yes, okay, it's right here. You have your real estate agent who's going to be, the person who bids on it. And they need to have their own HUD number, what have you. It's not complicated for an agent to do this, but they just have to be versed in it, okay? What this says right here, it's not in a revitalization area, it's not in the National Register, these are all fine. It's not opportunity zone, it's not a historic district, it's not in a FEMA flood zone, thank you, no, and it's not an air point zone. Okay, so it is eligible, sorry, it's eligible for a 203K loan. And you're like, what is that? You're like, hey, we found out that it needs some structural, or the siding on the outside is dilapidated, right? Or there's some flooring missing in one of the rooms, okay? um, you can get a loan, which will then um, allow for you to then finance within the loan to have it repaired.
Right.
Let's say that let's say the flooring was just like it smelled like cat pee. You're like, it's not necessarily, it's existing flooring, but it's just in bad condition. I recently had helped a client. It had some minor structural issues, but the price was discounted so much, and this house was in great shape, and it was in a great neighborhood. Everything else we looked in, their price point was just crap. I'm sorry, but it was just bad. And we looked at this one, and the listing agent had done an amazing job of had given a quote for the structural, and we knew that we could get it for cheaper, even to have it done. And so the process took a little bit of time for the 203K. We had to have a contractor and a lender who could work with the 203K, but they were able to get those structural issues done. They were able to get the house, and they got an amazing deal. The house then it then appraised for a lot more. They walked immediately into
Wow.
equity in a much nicer neighborhood. It was just a win-win altogether. I would say the only headache is it just took some time for us to go through the process of the contractors and that's where it required. The clients who were doing it were extremely patient, but they understood that they were walking into an amazing deal at that time. And it being
Yeah.
the first home, they were in their 20s, the first home buyers. It
Wow.
was just a great deal altogether. And so this could be one of those situations. I would not be surprised if I was to look up this house that it had appraised for a lot more, for whatever, if I was to pull up one of my
I mean, it's a Broken Arrow. For those who don't know, Broken Arrows, for the most part,
yeah.
is a really nice part of Tulsa.
Right. So, where you have right here, when you click on addendums, this is something we want to look at. So before you bid, it gives all this, and it gives you environmental. We want to look at some of their disclosures, but really you want to look at this part, the property condition report. Now they have
Okay.
this $100 sales incentive. This is regarding having to, only put $100 down, what have you. I'm not going to go into the finance part, but it's just a great deal altogether. But the property condition report is a very important piece of information that you want to take a look at. I'm going to pull it up right here. So we're looking at it. And so this is not an inspection report. So I'm going to disclosure, not an inspection report, but gives you a bird eye view of what this condition of this house is. Look at this. This is, I mean, okay, so the fridge did not come on, but look, HVAC tested, yes. Electric
So
test.
the fridge
Look,
didn't
I'm
come.
excited for this house. Dude,
I know.
I'm
Hey,
going to send this to somebody.
let's go ahead. You and I, let's buy it together, and then we'll turn around, flip it.
I'm excited for the property condition report showed all of these things, because usually it's the big thing I see a lot of times is the plumbing, where the water supply is
Hmm.
tested, and they do and it's usually like it defaults, and that's where you're like, some of the testers are a little aggressive, and so I don't know, did they blow out, did they blow it too hard and then it just kind of failed immediately, or is there like seriously a leak in the line? Okay, but this all tested good. This one is beautiful. Honestly, I'm gonna look this one up right now to see what my so on my back end there is a system called RPR, and where I look at a lot of times and see how much the valuation is. So this is HUD for an individual. You said, where would we do it? Now you're saying, okay, Heather, this one's a beautiful one for an individual, and I bet you it's gonna, I'm not gonna look it up. I already know this house is probably gonna appraise for at least 75 to $100,000 more, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Um, what for investors? Here's homes like this are going to go quickly for individuals. Like you said, you asked me the question, you said as an individual buying for themselves. As an investor, they put this period of hold period on it so that homeowners can get these good deals that investors are, kind of like held off from getting. Okay. The investors can't jump on it immediately. They are given essentially a waiting period. Um, let's see, we'll look at this one right here in Nichols Road. Because it says here the 2 days it says remaining to bid, but I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to scroll down where it says, I bet you it's going to say where the bidding process is. I'm going to find out. Who I don't see where it says, I'm looking for the information where it says who can bid on it, because honestly, that period of time has to do with people who are owner occupants, um, not investors. Investors are the opportunity is opened up later at a different time. It's usually 7 days after, because this is open to all bidders. See right here, it
Yeah.
says all bidders. Okay,
Hmm.
so you could bid on that as an investor. I bet you the other one that we were looking at, I bet you that I will go back to that one if we can find it. I bet you it says only to owner occupants. Property details. Um,
Owner occupants, nonprofits, and government
yes, yeah.
agencies only.
Yeah. So investors are not allowed to bid on that. Yeah. So that is a
What
good one. Yeah.
what
So
year was that house built?
um this one, hang on, go back to it. Sorry.
Okay, show it on that file.
It was built in, let's see, square footage is 2000,
2000? No, that's 2009 square
1989.
feet. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So as an investor, your best opportunity to get the best deals, I mean, are going to be it's going to be working with, so I get texts all the time, emails all the time. It's usually dealing with the agent who has the listing itself on the onset, because they already know that we're not squeezing it for all the juices in it. We're not wholesaling it. Wholesalers will often take a lot of the juice that's still left in that house, and I'm selling it for the trying to get the maximum value for my client. And so sometimes investors will come to me directly because they're like, hey, I know that you're not going to scam this person out of all the money on it, but I know that there's probably some if I'm the first person on the scene, that I can get a good deal and possibly double side it, is what they're looking to do. I'm looking right now. So house is listed for 265. It shows a RVM value, which is the retail value is at for $320,000. Right there. How would you like a $320,000 for only 265? There you
I'll take two, please.
go. Okay. Now,
You're gonna have to wrap this up. You got 2 more minutes.
okay, so back to where we're okay, so let me see what I lost of
Because this is gonna be another to be continued.
I'm sorry. Not
Sorry for
sorry.
what? No. That's a good thing.
Um, so yeah, I would think what I mentioned to you before are we talked about financing options, cash, hard money lenders, HELOC, private lenders, DSCR, that's for rentals. That's where you say, okay, this is my payment for it, and I'm waiting this much rent, and then the bank will say, okay, that makes sense, that cash flows. The sheriff sales, you usually have to pay quickly. It's not, you don't get traditional inspections. You don't get to walk through it. You must accept it, sight unseen, essentially like knowing what you're, getting a pig in a poke. So, there could be title risks, which you definitely want that cleared up. When I mentioned that first 2 weeks, you want to make sure the the government is going to do their own, make sure there's no liens about it, but you want to have your own title company look at it too, to make sure there's not any outstanding liens on it, because they will bite you in the butt. I've seen it happen. Due diligence before you're bidding, you try to do, if you can't go into a sheriff's sale property or some of these other properties, drive by it, look in there, talk to the neighbors, see if you can get any back taxes, any liens, any HOA fees. Don't get emotional in bidding any of these things. Try to, learn about estimates, getting estimate quotes on it, learning how much it is to have things be done. You don't have to do the work yourself, but knowing how much it costs to have it done is what's going to be your winning ticket. and not just saying, oh, it's going to cost $10,000 to do that and $10,000 to do that. It's actually knowing, how much per square foot is it going to put new carpet into that house? How much is it going to be to, put, luxury vinyl plank in it? How much is it going to do to gut that shower and to put in a new shower? That type of thing. So to wrap it up, homeowners need to reach out early. They need to seek professional advice. Talk to your local real estate agent who's an expert on this. Do not sign anything under pressure, under duress. Seriously, talk to people. That one investor, the one person I was talking to, he loaded it up to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. And that's when he called me, and I was like, I told him immediately, know your equity has value. Even if your house is in bad shape, it has value. With investors, you want to work with a real estate professional. You want to understand your risk, prepare funding early, have the money set up first. You may find
Absolutely.
that like this, you may find a stellar deal, but if you don't have the means to execute on it, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. And you're wasting
Um,
everybody's time.
yeah. And then do your homework before bidding. I mean, I had one person I knew who bid on a tax lien auction and he was all like, "Oh, it's only like $7,000. It's a piece of land." And he couldn't give it away to HUD. I mean, I'm sorry, Habitat for Humanity. He couldn't give away a lot because it was in such a bad like ditch, whatever, I don't know, but he couldn't hand it away to someone, even though he paid for it. He's like, "Here, it's free. It's a lot. You could build something on this." And they're like, "No, thank you. We don't want your liability." He couldn't give it away.
Wow.
So, uh, speed benefits the buyer, not the seller. Fear creates the biggest discounts. Foreclosure does not mean it's worthless. Distress does not mean desperation. Pricing and knowledge preserves equity.
I mean, these are nice little nuggets you just gave us there at the very end.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys were all taking notes on that. Well,
The
Heather, if you were to put a bow on today's show, give me some of your final thoughts then.
working with a real estate agent who knows what they're doing is worth your weight in gold. I joked with one of my investors. I said, cheating on your real estate agent is like cheating on your wife. And if you're married to a good woman, then you know what that means. If you're married to not so great woman, then you know what that means. So,
Yeah.
um, having somebody who's knowledgeable and can help you navigate through these things is priceless. I just had an investor call me, and I was helping him I was handing off his property, helping someone do it, helping him do a midterm rental, and he came to me and he's all like, "I don't know this person." And I was like, "Well, I know her and I can help you through." He's like, "Can you evaluate the numbers for me?" And I was like, "Sure. I can help you run the numbers and see if it works for you." Is that because he trusts me and he knows that I know my stuff. This is what I do day in, day out. Um, it it is like you, a financial advisor. Anybody who is well versed in what they do and does it day in and out and has a passion for it and is not motivated by the dollar sign is the person you want to work with.
Amen. You can say that twice for the people in back.
Because I've had clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I need to sell my house. I need to buy something else." And I'm like, "Wait up, why?" And I found out it was just because the situation is that she was going through divorce and she was like, "I can't afford this and I can't afford that." And I was like, "Why aren't you refinancing? Why didn't you refinance your house?" And she's like, "Well, I don't think." And I said, "Nope. Talk to the lender first, then come back to me." She talked to
Yep.
the lender, refinanced her house, stayed in the house for like 2, 3 more years. And then after that, she's all like, "Okay, I'm ready to buy a different house." And at that time, she had, already finished the divorce, had gotten remarried, and they wanted to move to somewhere else. And I helped them with both transactions, and I was pleased to help them with both transactions. But it wasn't out of a fear based, like, "Ooh, I'm going to make money. She's going to sell her house." And I get, it was this makes sense for you at this time. The other was she was fearful of the situation. And I was like, that doesn't make sense for you right now. And like regarding, as in, investing is that people have certain goals and you have to find out what their goals are to find out if you can reach it. If people just say, "Oh, I want to do this thing," you're like, "I don't know that that thing is going to get you where you need to be." So,
Right.
so
Very
yeah.
good. Well, that was once again, Heather, not that I didn't expect any less, but that was absolutely amazing. And I know that we only just barely scratched the surface. I mean, it's like the more that I continue to listen to you and the more that you continue to educate and all these different niches that you seem to be extremely well versed in, it doesn't matter which one of those rabbit holes that we start touching on. You open Pandora's box and you realize how much more there is. Just like in foreclosures, we just barely scratched the surface. So I want to say thanks for joining me for this Thanksgiving special, the Financial Happy Hour podcast. I do hope that today's deep dive into foreclosures starts to give you folks a little bit more clarity and a fresh perspective on the opportunities that are available in today's market. And folks, as we do head into the holiday weekend, for one, I'm truly thankful for every listener, every viewer, and every conversation that we get to share. My goal is to always help you make smarter financial decisions, hence the premise of this show, and hopefully make the journey a little bit more enjoyable along the way. Now, as always, if you got some value out of today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share with somebody who could benefit. And because we would love to hear from you. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the time with your friends. Stay safe, stay grateful, and as always, stay financially happy. I'm Rusty Westfall, and Heather, once again, thank you for joining us on today's episode. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.